advice you have for the students to really attack the problem of the constant rise in textbooks? You know, they put in one little new chapter, then the book goes up $10, $20, and really, when the students have it, it's so hard not to get off this, other than the tuition.
Well, I have become a little bit acquainted with that issue because as I've worked with our Council on Post-Secondary Education and the University Presidents, one of our challenges, and one of my challenges to them was, you know, during this time, we need to be looking internally in every way we can to see what drives the cost of education. And one of the areas that popped to the top was cost of textbooks. And the very issue that you mentioned of you know, one chapter changes or one little revision, and then everybody's got to buy a new one. You know, the old ones don't count anymore. They, as I understand it, and I'll check on this to make sure, but I think that they've got an internal working group that's working on that issue right now to try to figure out ways that we don't let that happen as much anymore, and because that will hold down the cost on students a great deal. So we're aware of that issue, and I will check back with the council though and make sure that they're working on it and that we come to some good resolution. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
I like that outfit. I wish, would it be all right if the governor dressed like that? I like it. That's good.
What specific initiatives are you supporting to help foster business growth?
As I mentioned to you, the first thing and the biggest thing that we could do was to go in and revise our entire economic development and incentive programs. For years, our programs mainly concentrated on attracting business from someplace else. And that's important, you know, bringing business in from other states, attracting them to come in from around the country and around the world is important because it creates new jobs for us. But anybody will tell you, and studies have shown, that we can create more jobs faster by working with businesses that we already have and developing a favorable growing atmosphere and climate for them and working with them to help them expand and grow and create new jobs. So we went in this last time and did a total revision of those incentives. And now we have some tools in our toolbox where we can sit down with a UPS, or we can sit down with big companies like that and say, okay, what can we do to work together that's going to end up resulting in you all expanding and growing and creating more jobs here for our people. But another part of it that we've never had before is being able to work with small business. And in Kentucky, about 90 to 95% of our jobs are in small businesses of 50 or less people, I think, what I saw recently. And so small business is really where it's at in terms of job creation for the most part. And we now have some tools that we can work with small businesses to incentivize them to grow and expand also. So I'm excited about it. We've just got it on the books, and we're just now about ready to try to put it into practice. But I think it's going to pay off for us.
Do you think that courting businesses will lead to increased influence of businesses in state government?
Not in and of itself, I don't think it will. Obviously, we listen to the business community, we listen to the labor community, we listen to the student community. You know, we try to be open and listen about ideas and concerns from everybody in the Commonwealth. But in the end, we've got to try to make the decisions that are best for everybody. And it gets to be a lonely job about that time. It gets to be a lonely job when we finally got to decide what we're going to cut in the budget as opposed to what we're not. Tell you what, when I came into this job, little did I realize that for the most part, for the first 3 or 4 years, I was going to be spending my time working with our people just to get them through the worst recession in the history of the state, absent the Great Depression that we had. But as somebody told me about that time, they said, you know, Steve, you don't get to pick the time in which you serve in terms of the economics of the time, but you do get to pick the way you live. So, you know, we have we have tried to be as sensitive as we can and identify the priorities that we've got to maintain at all costs during a time like this. And we're going to stick with that. We're going to stick with that and get the state through this the best we can. And then, by golly, we've got resources, we've got people in this state that are second to none. I mean, we can be as good as we want to be. And I think people are the best, and we can be the best if we do our best.
I was wondering what you wanted to see students do to address this issue and help with you, whether it be in Frankfurt or on campuses or just the role that we can play.
I'll tell you, we have gotten some great input from students in a couple of ways. Number one, your representatives on the university boards, in terms of the higher education issues, have been very active, and they've been vocal, and they need to be. And because of that, I think they've had some meaningful input. The student representatives on the Council on Post-Secondary Education have played that same kind of role. So it was a great idea that somebody had to get students involved officially in the governing boards of our universities and in the governing board of the university system. At the same time, I have met periodically since I've become governor with student body presidents of public and private universities and colleges in Kentucky, because I want to hear what the concerns are. And that's the only way to really find out, is to get out and to talk to people and to find out what's going on in your lives and what your concerns are, so that we can figure out a way to address them as best we can. But be vocal. I mean, you know, don't sit on your hands. Get involved. And I know you got a lot going on. I mean, you know, you're consumed with your studies, perhaps with a football or basketball game or two. But there's also a lot going on in this world that you can affect. And the main way you can affect it is by being involved and letting your voice be heard. I was a student body president in the last century over at UK. I went to UK, and you forgave me for that, didn't you? And, but I will tell you that I look at Louisville colors as governor, and you know, there's black and red, but there's some white in there that you see from time to time. And UK's got blue and white, so I'm thinking a white shirt might work on Saturday.